The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hi, I'm Mike O'Sullivan, CEO of One South Coast Chamber, and we're happy to be here today on the One South Coast Chamber Connection. And joining me today, we have Ian Trombley, our Vice President of Public Policy at One South Coast Chamber. And we're also joined, as we normally are, by Katie Green, our Vice President of Marketing and Events. And welcome. It's great to be here again. It's always a lot of fun to do the show.
Absolutely, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, and happy to be back.
Yeah, welcome back, Ian. All right, we're going to kick it right off to you. A lot of Massachusetts and South Coast businesses are experiencing staffing issues. So can you tell us or share some of the reasons why businesses are facing these challenges?
Yeah, so we hear this a lot with all of our members, right? What's your biggest issue? What's your biggest issue, right? We keep hearing it's staffing. We can't hire enough staff. We can't fully staff. So you start to wonder, like, what's causing this pattern? Like, how is everybody hiring? How is unemployment so low? Where is the disconnect here? So we started to look into this a little bit, and there's a recent survey done, or study done by Smart Asset. And what they did was they studied the most expensive cities and states across the United States. And what they found was Massachusetts, unfortunately, ranks number one in several categories. And what they did was they defined it as the most expensive states to live comfortably, and they comfortably was defined by the 50-30-20 budget rule, which is 50% of your budget goes to your needs, your house, car, food, etc. 30% goes to your wants, vacations, nights out, and 20% goes to savings. So with that in mind, they ranked the most expensive states in the United States. Well, Massachusetts, like I said, ranked number one. For a single adult working hourly, they need to make $55.78 per hour to live comfortably in Massachusetts. For a single working adult making salary, they need to make $116,000 per year to live comfortably here in Massachusetts. And for a family of four with two working adults, they need to make combined $301,000 to live comfortably here in Massachusetts.
Wow.
So when you look at staffing, if you can't afford to live here, you can't afford to work here. You know, the math isn't lining up. And we're starting to see that. MTF, actually, the Mass Taxpayers Foundation, do an incredible work analyzing state taxes and finances. And they got some very interesting information. Since 2019, the labor force has fallen by 130,000. And of course, this includes COVID. We saw a lot of people retire. 150,000 people retired since 2019. And in September of 2023, there were 150,000 more job openings than available jobs, than unemployed. 150,000 more job openings than unemployed people. So if every single unemployed person was working, there would still be 150,000 more job openings in Massachusetts. You know, and probably the most staggering piece of all this is, guess what the biggest number, or the biggest group leaving, the age group, if you had to guess?
Millennials.
Ages 26 to 35 are the biggest group leaving Massachusetts, which is a serious issue because those are the people who are coming out of schools. They're starting families, they're getting married, they're having children, they're putting down roots. And if they're leaving Massachusetts, they're not going to come back.
Right.
You know, no one comes here for our, beautiful Februaries or our 95% humidity Julys and Junes, or our incredible transportation services. You know, like, you come here and businesses invest here because of the people. Mm-hmm. You know, our workers, we're well educated, we're well trained, and we're willing to work hard traditionally. If we're not here, we're starting to see what happens with the workforce. They're just not there to work these jobs.
scary.
If they can't afford to live here, they're not going to live here.
Exactly.
Or in almost every community along the South Coast is talking about ADUs.
Yep.
And the ADUs are, if it's not within your zoning, then you're not going to have, you can't have families maybe have elderly parents live in your home and create spaces, other places for younger adults.
Yep.
It's a very unique situation, and it needs to be fixed, and it's all part of the whole housing crisis.
Right. Housing is probably the biggest piece of this affordability issue, right? As we know, housing is getting so unaffordable, and little things like ADUs. We need to use every tool in the toolbox to try and, address this housing shortage, whether it's ADUs or fixing zoning. I know there's a housing bill on Beacon Hill that would allow, ADUs to be, zoned in across the state.
Right.
Because there's a lot of barriers when it comes to housing right now, particularly zoning.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just, and the housing problem makes it so that young people, it's another way that young people can't afford to stay here, because it's not just affordable housing, it's all levels of housing.
Right, exactly.
Because if we're not building luxury housing, then as people can grow and their incomes grow and they would like to move up, or families, families go from 2 kids to 4 kids eventually, they would like to have larger houses.
Right.
But if the larger homes aren't getting built, then the smaller starter homes aren't being sold.
Right. You're absolutely right. And when we talk about luxury housing, you could have like a luxury apartment for some empty nesters who are living in these big houses that would like to downgrade into something very nice still, which would open it up for everybody as well. Some of the families who want a bigger house. The transfer and the kind of normal turnover we see isn't happening, because everybody's kind of locked in where they are right now.
And it's not just the gateway cities that have the problem.
No, absolutely
it's
not.
The region has the problem. It's all of the communities. Actually, all the communities in the state and even into Rhode Island.
Right.
They all have the same problem.
Right. You're absolutely right. And a lot of times it's the cities that end up stuck with the problem. You've got to build more housing. New Bedford, you need more housing. Fall River, you need more housing. But right now, I really think it's the smaller towns that really need to kind of step up and adjust their zoning to increase the housing stock.
Right.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, of course.
That being said, you're also doing a lot of work with our Government Affairs Committee. So what's going on there?
Yeah, so exciting time for our Government Affairs Committee. For those of you who don't know, we have a Government Affairs Committee which is made up of members who have expressed a special interest in government advocacy and public policy and politics. So we have this committee, and we get together with our elected leaders, whether it's state legislators or federal delegation, and discuss issues impacting the business community. So we've had several meetings the past few months. We've met with the Fall River delegation, state delegation. We've met with the New Bedford state delegation. We just met with Congressman Keating over at Titleist Ball Plant 3 in New Bedford. Had an awesome meeting, discussed lots of federal issues, Ukraine, offshore wind, infrastructure with him, and then got an awesome tour of how the number one ball in golf is made. Yeah. Wasn't that cool?
That was amazing. That was super cool. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. We took some great pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check our social media for those pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that was cool. We've talked about a lot of great topics with both Congressman Keating and the state delegation. PFML issue, paid family medical leave issues. Like I said, offshore wind, transportation being a big one, whether it's the Washington Bridge or the 195 Route 18 overpass. There's a lot of transportation issues coming up. Legislation, the budget. We're in the middle of budget debate right now that we've weighed in on. So a lot of really cool stuff. And in the Government Affairs Committee, I think, is an awesome opportunity for our members to really get, one-on-one or in a small group setting discussions, informal discussions in a closed-door setting with our elected officials, to really kind of have a back and forth and conversation with how some of these policies and regs are impacting their businesses.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's Government Affairs is probably our biggest, busiest committee at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we normally expect 40, 50 people to come in depending on the meeting and the location, but we're really trying to get into some of our members' businesses as well to host these meetings so that our elected officials and legislators can get some insight, like Titleist, and I think we're going to be having some cool meetings coming up over the next few months in some of our local businesses and members to kind of highlight some of their businesses and the great work they're doing right here on the South Coast.
Right in our own backyards. We said that when we were actually at Titleist on the tour, is how cool is this, that this, like you said, this #1 golf ball worldwide is made right here in our backyard. It's super.
And I commented afterwards, I commented to Kevin Carando, our VP of Operations. It was, I thought one of the greatest things was the passion that all of the employees had for being the #1 golf ball.
Right.
Because it's not, there's not that many companies where you go see them, you're fortunate enough to take a tour, and then you realize, okay, lots of people say, oh, we're #1 in the world. A lot of people like to say that, but these guys can actually quantify it every week.
Right.
When they have, like at the Travelers last week, the top 4 people were all playing Titleist balls.
Yeah.
And then it goes all the way back to, early in the season, everybody that's winning is using Titleist balls.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that they don't pay people to use their balls.
Right. Right.
That was you're used to hearing organizations in sports pay people to use their stuff, and Titleist doesn't do it, and they don't have to do it because it's the ball that wins.
That's right.
Product speaks for itself.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's really no debate. Like, you talk about cars, computers, TVs, everyone, like you said, it says there's no debate in golf balls,
Right.
Titleist is the #1 golf ball. It's
Yeah.
not even close. So
Yeah.
That was awesome. That really got me excited
That was
last
fun.
week.
Oh, we could tell. Ian's very passionate about his golf. So kind of still on the government affairs or the government side of things, we held our annual legislative luncheon in June at Rachel's Lakeside in Dartmouth, and we had a great number of our local legislators with us. We had Senator Michael Rodrigues, Representatives Tony Cabral, Carol Fiola, Pat Haddad, Chris Hendricks, Alan Sylvia, and Bill Strauss. Great turnout. We had a great sized crowd. They were very captivating, I would say. They answered a lot of great questions.
Yeah, it was. We had a lot of questions from the audience. We had a lot of great questions. Every single legislator spoke and answered different questions. I thought it was really cool. We even, unfortunately, learned, I think it was, I hope I get this right, Alan Sylvia was rooting for the Mavericks.
He said he was rooting for the Mavericks, but I think he was being sarcastic.
Well, we take our sport seriously. You don't joke about that stuff.
There wasn't anybody else
Ian's two passions, golf and basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there wasn't anybody else in the room, so I think Alan kind of threw it out there when we did the rapid fire round, as we call it.
That was fun.
And that was a lot of fun. But when Alan Sylvia said, "Yeah, I'm Mavericks," I was very surprised to hear that.
Like you said, did he forget it's an election year? But we talked about a lot of great stuff. South Coast Rail, offshore wind. We talked about the budget with Senator Rodrigues, of course, who wrote the budget. Housing, it was just a really captivating conversation.
Yeah, the Route 79 project.
Yep.
Carol was able to. Carol Fiola was able to give us a good update on that. It was very good. We got a good update on the state pier.
Yep.
Chris Hendricks gave us the update, and then Chairman Strauss gave us even more in-depth update.
Right.
There's a lot of great stuff that's happening, but we're very fortunate across the entire region to have such great delegation.
Yeah.
And they're in key spots.
Yeah. Yep.
Chairman Strauss, Chairman Rodrigues, Carol Fiola is the chair of
Committee on Municipalities. I think. Yep.
Yes, and then Tony Cabral is the chair of the caucus, right?
Yeah.
So there's we've got great representatiants. They hear us, they listen to us. We don't always agree. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
We don't always
absolutely.
agree. And there's probably something wrong if you always agree.
Right, absolutely.
But we don't always agree. But you can agree to disagree.
Yep.
and we can keep lobbying and keep advocating and to change their mind and see it our way.
You're absolutely right, and it's a great point when we look at the delegation that we have and the positions of power that are being held right now in our delegation. And one of the great things is, for instance, the Municipal Empowerment Act, the governor's bill that wanted to give municipalities some flexibility, but it did include some potential tax raises, increase on your excise tax, meals tax, hotels tax. It was a local option. It wasn't an automatic increase, but it would allow cities and towns to, increase if they wished. So we waited on that bill, and we submitted testimony to Carol Fiola, who chairs the committee. It's now going to go to Ways and Means with Mike Rodricks, of course. But that means the New Bedford business community that we represent, of course, and all of the South Coast now has direct access to these legislators. And it works both ways, of course. Mark Montigny used to be chair, and we have Chairman Strauss, so it works both ways, but that really shows how important it is. Now I believe we have 16 legislators representing our communities, opposed to 5 or 6.
Right.
That makes a really big difference.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference. 16 versus Fall River looking at just 4, and New Bedford, depending on how you counted it, 4 or 6. And then the other communities that we serve in the middle, and it's very important to look at it when you look at it as a region, because as a region we share many of the same challenges.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So some events that we have going on when July hits is kind of quiet around the chamber offices, but we still have some fun events that we're working on. We actually just held last night our June Business After Hours, which was with St. Anne's Credit Union. They always do a great job. We have it down at the Cove on Duval Street. Room was packed.
It was a beautiful night.
Beautiful night.
It couldn't have asked for looking over at the Braga Bridge, the sun setting. It was like, man, picture perfect.
Yeah.
That's always one of the most fun events of the year.
Yeah.
And we, knock on wood, the weather's always nice.
Yeah, we're all going to knock on wood now. We don't want to jinx it for next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the weather was supposed to not be great, I think, and it turned around for us.
It turned around. So thank you to St. Anne's Credit Union for sponsoring that event. In July, we have one event actually, which is another Business After Hours, but this one's a little bit different than the ones that we normally do. This is our annual Sunset Sip and Sail. We do it on the Cuttyhunk Ferry. And it's great. We don't go to Cuttyhunk. It's just a leisurely harbor cruise. We go out to Paden and back. And Mike, you've been on it. That's another super fun night.
That one is really a lot of fun. The first night we did it, the weather was very interesting, because if you drove from Fall River to the Cuttyhunk Ferry, it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
But once you got to the ferry, it was
clear
skies.
Yeah.
But you look out, and as you go out on the ferry, the captain makes a right turn and he starts to head towards Paden and all that. And we're like, I thought we were going out towards Cuttyhunk, and he's like, well, if you look out there, he says, there's like a thunderstorm out there. He says the thunderstorm's not going to last very long, but we're not going out there.
Yeah.
We don't want to end up like Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, that's for
So
sure.
we're like, okay, that's fine. Let's go to Paden and but it was a lot of fun. It was one of those things that it didn't sell out the first year, but it now everybody
the second year.
everybody
We're already sold out.
That last year was the second year since COVID, because they used to do it before COVID, but we brought it back in 22. So this will be our third year bringing it back, and we're almost sold out.
We'll be sold out by the time.
We're less than 10 away, I think, from being sold out.
Sign up.
Yeah.
Don't want to miss your chance.
OneSouthCoast.com.
That's right.
That's right, and it's going to be, I think, a really cool event, particularly with so much that's happening in the city of New Bedford and in the harbor. I mean, when we leave, we're going to see the offshore wind staging area where all of these huge turbine components are getting loaded onto the ships. We're going to go through the Hurricane Dike and see Cisco down there on the water. And there's just so much activity, never mind all the fishing boats and everything that you normally see, but it's just a bustling harbor right now, and it's really exciting. That'll be a cool kind of inside look that you don't normally get to see from the street.
Yeah, and it's a unique way to network.
Yeah.
So we're really looking forward to that one, and as Mike said, for more information you can visit OneSouthCoast.com. And then on August 1st, we're having our Bay Coast Business After Hours, and that's Bay Coast is sponsoring it, and that's going to be hosted over with our friends at Fall River Country Club. That should be a great turnout, especially if it's another beautiful night, which we're going to knock on wood. We hope it is.
Yeah,
because we can be out on that beautiful lawn. And you're going to bring your golf clubs and hit the
Like,
putting green.
yeah, maybe I can sneak out for a little bit, get a couple holes in, get some putting in. I like that idea.
Maybe we'll get there early.
Yeah, I
There
like
you go.
that.
There you
I
go.
got a golf ball from Tyler's the other day I can bring
See,
home.
yeah.
I'll probably lose that on the first hole though. So.
We have some chamber ones we can give you, thanks to our friends at Titleist. And then in September, we're hosting our annual Roger S. Valcourt Awards Dinner. And this year we're honoring Patrick Murray of Bristol County Savings Bank. He's a great guy. And if you're not familiar, the Roger S. Valcourt Award is bestowed annually upon a citizen who has a long record of volunteerism and leadership that's produced a lasting contribution to this region. And Pat is, if you know Pat, you know he's very deserving of this award.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Roger was a business person who passed away much earlier than anybody ever would have anticipated. He was very young when he passed away, but he had a great reputation, was very well known, and he really, he was just a great citizen, not just a business person. So when the Chamber created the Valcourt Award, it's really it's very much an outstanding citizen award. And as when the chambers came together, we've tried to expand it so that it's not just a Fall River Award, it's really a South Coast Award. But Pat is one of, as the CEO of Bristol County Savings Bank, Pat has been just a great leader across the entire region. He's retiring at the end of the year. We're happy to see John Silva come in, but we're sorry to see Pat go. And Pat's always been just a great friend of the community. He's involved in economic development. He's involved in so many different not-for-profits throughout the region. He's really deserving of the award, and we're really happy to be able to give him that award this year.
Certainly are. So if anyone is interested in joining us to honor Pat and his contributions, you can join us on September 11th at Whites of Westport. And as always, you can visit our website at onesouthcoast.com to purchase tickets. Mike, we've got some Fall River events that our friends through Viva and Frack are putting on, and you also recently took the Funders Tour. Yeah,
the South Coast Community Foundation has the last year or so, they've really jumped in, and they're trying to dig into a lot of the different types of events that are going on in Fall River, and looking at the different organizations to see what's the buzz about, because particularly in arts and culture, there's a tremendous buzz in Fall River, where people like Ashley Okino and Patty Rigo, Patrick Norton, the folks at I lost my, I can see the place, Little Theater in Fall River.
Sure.
I can see the firehouse, the Red Barn, and I said I kept thinking the Red Barn, but they put on recently. They worked with the Narrows, and they did Jesus Christ Superstar at the Narrows, which was 2 nights sold out, and it was an incredible show. It really was an incredible show. But there's a lot of great stuff that's going on. So our friends at the South Coast Community Foundation, they wanted to bring some folks in that are on their board that run some of their committees, because arts and culture is one of the 4 or 5 kind of topics that the Community Foundation's focusing on. And the Bar Foundation, which is a very large foundation that has a great interest in arts and culture, has been donating money and granting money to organizations all around the South Coast, and some of that money has come to FRAC, Fall River Arts and Culture Coalition, and which Ashley is using very wisely, so there's a lot of great stuff that's happening. In fact, some folks on this Funder Tour were talking about how 6 or 7 years ago, people were saying, oh my God, Fall River has so far to go to catch up with New Bedford. And really, a lot of the people in the arts and culture community in New Bedford are saying, holy cow, look how far Fall River's come. God, they're doing great things. From my perspective, with being the regional chamber, I love the fact that Margot Solnier from New Bedford Creative and Ashley have become friends. They're working on projects together. They're doing great work. They had the legislative event at Round the Bend.
What an awesome event! You know, like another effort of collaborating and regionalism and bringing legislators across the South Coast together to emphasize, the commitment to arts and culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there's a ton of great things going on. Two particular events that are happening starting next week on Wednesdays is I think this is the 4th year, Summers in the Park, which De Naro's is working with the city and Bristol County Savings Bank and FRAC and Viva, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody else. The food bank, because the kids who come to that, they get to go home with a bag of groceries.
Oh, that's awesome.
Patrick would tell me if I missed anything, that's the one thing I missed, and I don't want to miss that because it's important. Because if the kids come, they can go home with the groceries which they need. But it's the Summers in the Park, and it goes from each park, goes through 8 parks in the city. If you look at Viva Fall River or FRAC online, you can see exactly where the event is on each week.
And I think they actually have signage up at all the parks as
They
well.
do,
The ones
yeah.
I've driven by anyway, I've seen there.
They
yeah.
do, yes, yes, and we're really grateful to the Narrows and Bristol County Savings Bank for working together to put that together, and it's it's fun. It is a lot of fun. But we went on the Funders Tour Tuesday, and the Funders Tour, we stopped at the Narrows, we stopped at 44 Troy Street, which is the Gather location, which FRAC has, and they put on art shows, they'll host events there, and it's also in the building. Separate part of the building, but in its own gallery is FR Mocha, and they've got terrific art shows going on right now, and through the summer they're going to have different art shows. So there's a lot of great stuff there. Then we went Joe Holdeman, who owns Time Blossom, on Purchase Street, right kind of across from City Hall on Purchase Street. He's got a lot going on. He's not building, but he's renovating a new building. Very soon, the Viva Maker shop is going to move in there. So there's a lot of great stuff that's going on. So it was a great day, great people, and it closed with a reception at the Cove.
And you did it on the new trolley.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot the
Awesome.
important part.
So I think
trolley.
that's all the
Yeah.
time we have for today.
Yep.
So thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you, Ian.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll see you
Thanks for
next
coming.
time.